Welcome back to the ESPN Hoops and Hits podcast presented by Tab. I'm the Scope, joined by my man, the Grub.
How are you, mate?
Good, brother. Huge week. It just doesn't stop in the US, mate. We've got plenty of sports to talk about.
Love it.
But how's everything else going? I love the Michigan State too. We're talking about it before we come in. My man, Jaden Reed from the Green Bay Packers. I think Draymond Green was a Trojan too from the Golden State Warriors. Where's that come from?
So, big shout out to Adam Jerusi from the Dogs, our chairman. He knew I loved college. We had a good yarn about it, and his daughter Charlotte actually goes there.
Oh, nice.
And he actually went to the most recent Michigan State versus Michigan game.
That would have
Sending
been
me
huge.
photos. Very, very jealous. I want to get there one day. Messaged me a couple of days ago and goes, I got a little present for you. I popped up into Belmore, and here it was. How good's that?
That's a keeper.
That's a keeper.
That is a keeper. The show today, mate, we've got a doozy. Like I said, Westbrook gets his 200th triple-double of his career. Shohei Ohtani, he wins his third MVP award. We've got an update on Madden 25. They have inserted Barkley's just out of this world backwards hurdle. That's been put into Madden 25, so the people playing can get amongst the hurdle. I don't know which button you're hitting to get that going.
MVP.
Hey, we'll get to that. The NBA has changed the All-Stars game format. It's a really unique way of doing it this year. I guess they're trying to get it way more competitive than it's been because it's just a bit of a scrimmage at the moment. The Giants released Daniel Jones. That's off the back. We're going to talk about what Saquon Barkley is doing at the Eagles. Rodgers of the Aaron variety is non-committal to 2025 with the Jets, and I don't think the Jets are with him, so we'll talk about that. And with the influencer-led exhibition matches, have they ruined boxing?
Big topic.
So we had Jake Paul last week. We'll delve into that a little bit more, and we've got just some data, some stats in and around that as well. But ready to get on to Left on Red, mate? Let's kick it off, and this one comes from X, and it's from Simon's Void. It's a picture of Russ here. Russell Westbrook becomes the first player to record 200 triple-doubles in NBA history. Where does Russ rank for you with regards to the best point guards of all time?
Well, all I can say, Hoz, is we're pointing at it. He's pointing at it. The numbers don't lie.
Stats don't lie.
Stats don't lie. Stats don't lie. He's copped a bit of criticism of late. We spoke about him on the show a few weeks ago.
I missed that, but you were getting into him, and I think he heard it.
I was not into him. I'm not into Westbrook. He's my man.
Okay.
There's this story where I went to OKC. Durant pulled out.
Okay.
Westbrook put on 50. So I love him. I'm a big fan of Westbrook.
Yeah.
I do think he's struggling off the bench. That's just me being honest. He's just a different type of player. Can't bring the same sort of energy. But where does he rate?
All time.
Yeah, no.
Let's throw some names out there. I think Steph Curry's the obvious one. Magic Johnson.
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's definitely in the conversation.
Steve
Nash won a couple of MVPs. And if you talk about, I guess very similar to Russ, one of the more polarizing point guards of all time, you got to mention Allen Iverson as well. We'll probably miss some really good ones there as well. But the stats don't lie, and he fills it up. Sometimes at the detriment of teammates in years past.
Correct.
I think Steven Adams used to get him a few rebounds on purpose back in those OKC days.
Yeah.
But what an accomplishment, 200 triple-doubles. That is crazy.
It's unbelievable, mate. And look, Hoz, I just think he's nowhere near the likes of the Magic Johnson, the Steph Currys. He just brings something different. He just brings that raw energy, and that's why I like him. I just feel sometimes in games he does get it wrong, but he still does it. He still tries. He still tries his hardest, and yeah, I just love the style of play he's played. But yeah, if we're being real, it's probably in the top 20 for me.
You know what? With all those point guards, I think it matters about the style. Like if you want a distributor, if you want someone to control it, you go Chris Paul, you go Magic Johnson. If you want a shooter, you've got that power forward like Draymond Green who we're talking about who can get Steph Curry the ball. But if you want a guy to do it all, and score and play aggressively, then depending on what style you get, style makes matches, style makes teams. I think that's how you determine the point guards, but he's right up there. Going to another point guard in Philly, and this one comes from Instagram, the last place team in the East, which is crazy to say. That's hilarious. Are the 76ers, and it has been reported Tyrese Maxey challenged Joel Embiid in the 76ers players only meeting. So let's get the grub or no grub up. Let's get this up nice and early. Grub or no grub, this getting out from the meeting in a players only meeting.
So for that is very grub act.
Yes.
I hate that. It used to happen sometimes in the NRL when I was in teams, and
It's quite common to have players only meetings, right? Though
it's
that
all
happens
the time.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's healthy.
yes,
Because the thing is, the reason for a players only meeting is because you can say some things probably about the coaching staff that you don't want them to necessarily hear. Nothing bad, but it's just like, you know what, we don't like this at the moment, or we don't think this, or, you know, we're not training enough here, or we're not training enough there. But I also think I'm going to put up another bat for Joel Embiid, man. Like, you are a grub.
he is
I'm
a grub.
done with you.
Yeah, okay, you're done with Joel.
Yeah,
Well, the
like,
reports are Thorry
man.
basically called him out because he was being lazy, wasn't training hard, he's missing games. So it's a grub for the person that leaked the information, but it's a grub to Joel as well.
Like, who do you think you are, mate? Like, I don't care how many games you've played or how good you think you are or what
If
Philly
you won the MVP?
owes you, mate. I don't care, mate. Like, I'm so happy that Maxey stands up to him.
Yeah, I like
You know
it
what?
as
That's
well.
a true leader.
That is a leader.
That is an absolute true leader
Calling out
because
your star.
Embiid, he is the guy that would be. He would be daunting, mate. He would be like, what are you saying to me? You know, like. But apparently, the good thing is they're actually mates. So that makes it even like. I actually think that's even better because it's like sometimes, you know, I've been a part of teams and you have too, Hoz. It's not as easy as people think. Some people will just be like, well, apparently he's turning up late to meetings, and like that is toxic. That is something that you do not want in your establishment. So for me, I just think him putting that on him in front of all the team, it seems like there's a bit of a changing of the guard there.
Yeah, I love
it really does. And
I like Maxey.
Embiid, mate, if you're not a part of this, then it's probably not the place for you.
Well, Embiid has been the process. Everyone laughed at the process. That was like 10 years ago now. During that time, Ben Simmons has obviously been and gone. He was considered the problem. Jimmy Butler come in. He's been and gone. Now Embiid's talking about getting him back from the Heat because there were some rumblings that Jimmy could become available from the Heat. So maybe the process is finishing with Joel Embiid and it's going to restart and it's going to rebuild under Tyrese Maxey.
One thing I heard also, Hoz, was that some of the players are going to Nick Nurse saying, we want to train harder. Like, we want to go harder. And this is what I say about the changing of the culture. And apparently Embiid's just not all for that.
Okay.
So it's just like...
That was reported by Shams from the player, right? ESPN Shams.
It literally was. Like, it's literally one of those things. And even one more thing for Maxey, he's been injured for a while. He's had a bit of a hamstring injury. And it's so much harder to do it from being injured, I found. Even when I was I was never a leader in any team I was in. But when you're a little bit older, you've just got that
A little bit more vocal.
Yep. But always found when I was sort of inside injured, it's hard to do it while they're playing. True. They're out in the field on the court doing it. But hats off to you, mate. Love it.
Yeah, I love it as well. All right, mate. This one comes from Facebook and it comes from Kyle. Note, the best players are playing against each other and yet they're not playing the best. Bring back the old hard defense and I'll watch it again. That is with regards to the All-Star game in the NBA, and it happens in the NFL as well. The NBA are trying to change it. They've got a new format where they're going to go 3 different teams in almost like a pickup ball sort of format. And I guess what they're hoping is shorter games up to less points, which will make the players go harder and then, you know, almost make it a little bit more competitive where I think it's going to be 8 aside. So you still have your 12 from each side, from the East and the West, and then they'll, I guess, maybe redraft them into teams of 3 after it. Do you like it? Do you think it can work?
Look, I just think there's about 1,200 games a season in the NBA that are all competitive. They're all ultra competitive. They're all going hard every night. And I just think, for me, when I watch these All-Star games, I get it. I understand people. There's no defense. It's all out offense. There's logo threes. It's like a dunk contest outside the dunk contest. But I just think leave it. I really do. I don't watch it as a game. I watch it as a spectacle. So I just think I just leave it for me. But at the same time, Hoz, you bring, you know, that bit more competitive edge, a bit more energy into the games. There's that chance of injury. Are the big dogs going to want to do that?
Of course, that would be a big part of why they've changed or changed the intensity in years past. Producer Shab's come up with a really good. We've got to give him some credit. I've heard this before and I love it. That they should make, just like they do on the baseball, the winner of the game, whether it be West and East, determine who gets home advantage in the NBA finals like
I
they
love
do.
that.
So
Yep.
at the moment, it's the record of the teams that play, just like it is all the way through the East and the West once they get and crossover. But I like that idea. I think that would make it at least competitive or a little bit more competitive in the fourth quarter anyway.
Yeah, we're talking about the big players as well, Hoz. You know, the likes of Steph Curry have been in talks about it. So if he's in talks about changing it, then the players must want a bit of a change too. So look, if the players want it, I don't really mind either way. But I'm also happy with just watching it as a bit of a
You know when I got a little bit Mickey Mouse? It was almost around the same time, went from Michael Jordan to LeBron James's NBA and just got a little bit more Mickey Mouse and cruisy around that time. So maybe LeBron's to blame for that.
big LeBron fan. You
All right, this one comes from X and it comes from our man, Steady Sports. Is this guy behind me the best player in the history of baseball? Now, that is potentially getting a little bit carried away. He's only in the early part of his career, but Shohei Ohtani wins his third career MVP. Is he the closest thing to LeBron James that we've got currently in any other sport?
I nearly choked on my tongue there, mate. You're pointing at the screen. LeBron James is in the screen there talking about the GOAT.
Oh,
That's not you, man.
well, I think that makes sense too, because yeah, what he's doing in baseball right now, with all the pressure, because
Yeah.
he was talked about like LeBron was about being this prodigy, about being this
Yep.
superstar, and he has delivered just like LeBron delivered.
Hasn't he? What, Hoz? But at the same time, I just feel it's too early. Do you remember when we were talking about LeBron 5 years ago, trying to compare him to Michael Jordan back then?
Yep.
I just don't think it's there yet.
Okay.
I just think the comparison, to the great Bambino, great Babe Ruth, and all those ex players. Don't get me wrong. The one thing I love about Ohtani is all his MVPs. They've all been a bit different. His first one, he hit, I think, 46 homers in the first in that year. The second one, it was the best pitching of his career. The third one was the best OPSs of his career. And then the fourth was just all of them combined. So it's not like he's just doing the one thing. And I just love, but for that 4-year period.
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like LeBron James scoring, assisting, rebounding, doesn't defend. But that's apart from that, he does a bit of everything, just like Shohei Ohtani.
He does. And I do love that. But at the same time, I think to be in the GOAT conversation, he's definitely in the conversation, but longevity is a big part of it for me.
Yep.
You got to do it for long periods of
10
time.
plus years, you reckon, minimum, before we even start to consider the GOAT conversation?
Yep. Minimum 10,
Yep.
I reckon. And at the same time too, Hoz, like back in the day when Babe Ruth and all these guys were playing, like they were using the same ball for the whole game. Like by the time they got the ball, by the end of it, it was not even really a ball. The ballparks were bigger. The hitters were actually taught to hit the ball to the ground more rather than go for home runs. So there's so many different aspects to it, different styles. But look, for what he's doing, he's definitely in the conversation already. But I just don't know if we can talk about it yet, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you who's not in the GOAT conversation. Our next man. This one comes from Facebook. This one comes from Josh Button. Daniel Jones released himself from the Giants. So I don't know if you've seen this, or if he basically he read a letter before he'd even been released, which I guess in part led to him being released. What's next for the Daniel Jones career, with him just signing a huge contract with the Giants? And where do you see him playing? What team do you predict him playing on?
I've always felt really sorry for Daniel Jones, and I don't know why, because same conference.
He seems like
Not
a
a
good
fan of the
dude.
Giants. He does.
He's not over the top.
No.
Larry, he's been in a bad situation.
See his interview after. He was very accountable.
Yeah.
He said, I haven't been good enough. I haven't been good enough for this franchise. But look, it's not all about Jones, Daniel Jones. Let's talk about the Giants, what's going on behind the scenes. You guys let go of Saquon Barkley to keep Jones.
Yes.
Someone's got to be held accountable for that, because let's just look at what Barkley's doing in Philly. Barkley's come out multiple times and said just things like, I'm learning how to be patient in Philadelphia. I'm learning how to make big plays constantly in Philadelphia. He even said things like, the Giants never embraced the rivalry. And I got to Philly and there's hate.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, they got to be kicking themselves, because he's coming out and saying that. But I do also feel the Giants were pushed into a corner with a very inflated quarterback market. There's a few quarterbacks right now and a couple of teams that are going to be embarrassed. Let's look at the Browns. Look at Watson. What's going on there? Let's look at the Jags. Look what they paid for Trevor Lawrence. There's a few.
It's only early doors. Dak Prescott as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love this. Let's talk about Giants.
NFC East, you're looking good.
We're looking good. Minus the, but I just also think with Jones, he just it was a bit of a tough one because in the 2022 season, the Giants made the playoffs. They won a playoff game in Minnesota.
They did too.
Jones was on fire.
You did.
He got clapped off MetLife. The game was in Minnesota, but he got clapped off MetLife. So they were in a bit of a tough position. They go, you know what? Maybe this guy will blossom. So you can't fully blame him. But I just think for Jones right now, as a player, he's got to go and be a backup quarterback somewhere. What's your thoughts?
I love everything that you just said there. So that's why I think Daniel Jones ends up on a contender. I think some of the teams that have been tossed up, and this could happen really in the next 24 hours, is cleared waivers. Ravens stand out, mobile, running quarterback, championship winning team, could sit behind. Wherever Daniel Jones goes, for everything that you just mentioned before, he wants to go to a strong franchise, a winning culture, and just like Saquon learning things at the Eagles, he'll want to go to a coach that can teach him how to play the position. And I dare say at the top of his list, no matter who is playing quarterback or who is running back, he's going to look at the offensive line because that's one thing the Giants haven't been able to get right in his time there.
I love the Baltimore one. I really do like that. I also think possibly the Dolphins, not knowing if Tua has one more head knock, he's out again, and the Dolphins are looking, to be a
It's not a bad shout.
threat.
I don't hate that.
In the playoffs. But also, where to for the Giants now? For me, they got to get Sanders.
Yes. So, look, Dion's come out and said he's only going to go to a number of teams. Las Vegas is obviously one of those teams, and they've talked about the combination of Dion and Shedeur going to the Raiders together. I just can't see the Giants being a team with everything that's going on there. So I think we'll rule that one out. Speaking of ruling players out, and this one comes from Instagram and it comes from Harry Chan. I'm officially done with Aaron Rodgers. Give us Tyrod Taylor. Will the Jets, so there's been talks that not only will he not be on the roster next year, but he could potentially not play another game this year coming out of the bye.
You are a fan of this bloke. Are you a fan of him right now? Be honest with the Hoops and Hits podcast people right now. You cannot be a fan of this bloke right now.
I will be honest. I love Aaron Rodgers, but I love that he is not on the Green Bay Packers anymore.
Yeah, good call.
There will always be a spot in my heart for Aaron, but this drama has been happening for 5 or 6 years now, going back to when LaFleur arrived. He schemed up the Green Bay Packers offense, and there was just rumors that Aaron Rodgers didn't buy in. So I'm so happy that he is currently a Jet, and I don't think he'll be a Jet next year.
So he's already come out and said he doesn't want to be a Jet next year. So right now, get rid of him right now, the Jets. I don't want that bloke to walk through the doors anymore because you're not thinking about the Jets at the moment. Like, what else do you want? We got your Randall Cobb, we got your Lazard, we got your Adams, we got your Hackett, you got our coach fired. When is the penny drop of this bloke?
GM fired.
What more has got to happen? I just feel gone are the days where this 4-time MVP can lead a side. He needs to go to a side that has really good threats everywhere else to sort of carry him. Yeah, he can throw some good balls every now and then, but he's just not the same guy. I just don't like. I think he uses the quarterback position at the moment to talk about everything but NFL. Every time he's talking about NFL, he's like, yeah. But then it's talking about something politics, he's buzzing, and I just don't like that. I read an interesting article about him, actually. Back in the day, he said, I never want to turn out like Brett Favre because he said he was arrogant and didn't give me any time of day.
Yeah.
Someone from the Jets locker room has said he's turning into that guy.
Oh, wow.
So that's got to hurt, man.
Yep. And that's, that's enough on Rodgers. We'll leave him alone.
Nah.
But the fair digs.
Where's he go, Hoz?
I don't know. I can't see a team picking him up. I just can't see it. With all the drama, the age, the injury history of the Achilles last year, I just can't see him on a roster next year. There is not one team that has a star-studded lineup where he'd even come in and just play a role. I think he just doesn't play the modern-day offense.
Or one for you, possibly the Browns.
No chance.
Watson's not back till spring.
Yep. Imagine putting Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers in the same quarterback room together.
Well,
you ride with Jameis Winston.
Well, they challenge each other.
Yeah.
I just think like possibly he won't be back from his Achilles They got Nick Stefanski there. You just don't know.
Hmm?
Somebody, it's Watson's not going good either.
I don't think there's a spot for him.
Yeah.
It is time for the stalemate, and producer Shabs has put this one to us this week. And this is to do with what we were talking about at the start. Has influencers fights ruined boxing? We've got a few comments from Instagram here. Dan Nikolovsky says, no, it's bringing more eyes to boxing. Anything that does that is a good thing. Marcelo Fabiano, more exposure isn't a bad thing. And Lee Pierce brings more eyes for the wrong reasons. Tyson's fight with Jake was scripted. Now, scripted, I think, is become the buzzword of sports in the last couple of years. For sure, I think there was an agreement to get to all the rounds, whether they go, you punch me this way in the first round. I don't think that happens. But for sure, I don't think Mike Tyson or Jake Paul really wanted to hurt each other in that fight.
Oh, you could see that for sure. And I feel I'm hating a lot today, and I'm just going to keep going.
Keep hating.
So Jake Paul, yes, I do.
Grub or no grub, Jake Paul?
Oh, Grub. But at the same time, smart guy, smart businessman,
Smart.
mate. I actually take my hat off to him for that side of it.
Yeah.
But I really love boxing. It's sort of like I've loved it for years because my grandfather, he loved it, and for the sport itself, he's making it worse. But boxing's been ruled for a very long time. I think you just got to look at the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight. How she lost that fight. That's boxing at the moment.
Yes.
That is boxing. That is frustrating.
Yeah, boxing is always going to be frustrating due to the landscape of not the best fighters always fighting each other when they're on world title runs, and then also some of the decisions that are made with judging. I've always thought they should do this in boxing and MMA, have the scores up after each round.
Yeah.
So everyone is aware of where the fighters are at, and also if it's not going the way, then you get an opportunity for a fighter who thinks they're on top can go out and try to win it when they might be trying to defend the last couple of rounds thinking they've got it.
Yep.
And then it doesn't eventuate that way.
He just kills me, Jake Paul, in general, because like you said, that it's 100% a script. I honestly felt bad for Mike. He said it a couple of weeks ago, but it felt like I was watching The Notebook. It was like it was like a love story. They're like half hugging each other. But for Jake Paul, I just don't know how he can keep talking it up. Like, he fought Nate Robinson, who's a basketballer. He fought Woodley at 39. He fought Silver at 47, and Mike Tyson at 58. Brother, what are you're not fighting anyone good. You got beat by Fury, who's probably the only actual sort of boxer that you could go up against. So until you get into the ring with someone who, has got a bit of a name, or we spoke about it, Conor McGregor, get in the MMA ring with him, just stop carrying on, mate. I'll just get over him carrying on. And then the worst thing about boxing at the moment too, Hoz, they're giving out the belts left, right, and center. That's the thing. You nearly win a belt every fight you fight. Imagine
everyone's got a belt.
Everyone's got a belt. How do you think Jeff Fennick and Koshiju and that feel about these belts? They earn these belts, man. They couldn't dodge people back in the day. And I read a bit of stuff about Floyd Mayweather, and he changed that sport. He was the best dodger of fighters of all time. And even though he had the greatest record, but he started this. Now all these fighters are dodging each other because they want to keep this undefeated record.
Yes.
He's come out and said, boys, don't do it, because it's detrimental to the sport. Bit rich coming from him.
Yeah, now he's all done.
Yeah, of course.
Got the clean record.
But that's why I love the UFC.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's got a belt. They just give belts out for fun. And like you said, they want to keep that clean record. Let's get to some studs and duds for this week. And this one's a little bit left field. We've gone with a kicker, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He currently has more fantasy points than Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Kelce, and Trey McBride. A real underrated part of fantasy, if you do have them, is getting a good kicker and streaming defenses. And if you don't do that and you have that in your format of play, then you are not a legit fantasy player, because Chris Boswell is killing it for this year.
I can't believe how many of those big names he's beating.
Travis Kelce's having a real bad year.
He's poor. He was my first pick last year. He's
Noah Gray had 2 touchdowns for him on the weekend.
Mm.
That would have killed all of the Kelsey followers. It's time to move on to the Pick-6, presented by Tab. Cynthia, not as well last week. A few really short price favourites got dusted. And even the Carolina Panthers nearly jagged it against the Chiefs, if not for Patty Mahomes. So the Steelers, it all started on the Friday game over here, Thursday Night Football. The Steelers weren't able to beat the Browns. The Dolphins, they got over the Pats. The Lions got over the Colts. Commanders, however, weren't able to beat the depleted Cowboys. The Titans got an upset against the Texans as well. And the Chiefs just got home against the Panthers. So let's see who Cynthia is going for this week.
Happy week 13, Horo and Grub. I'm back with a pick-6 for you. This week, we're going with the Lions over the Bears. The Lions are at home. The Chiefs over the Raiders. They are also at home. The Chiefs, that is. The Bucks over the Panthers on the road. The Bills over the Niners at home. The Broncos over the Browns at home. And the Texans over the Jags on the road. I know you don't celebrate over there, but happy American Thanksgiving.
There you go. America's Thanksgiving. The one thing I took out of that, it's week 13 in the NFL, Grub.
It flies.
This season has gone so fast. We started on the very first round of the NFL. I feel like this has just gone like that. And Cynthia, by the way, down week last week, but she is on fire this year.
We just go back to one of your men, Steelers over the Browns. What's going on with Winston, man?
I love Jameis.
Nah, you can't.
I love
Are you teeing up because
I love Jameis.
he says some wicked stuff. Man,
I know. I feel like, I've said this before, I feel like being a football player is an act to him, and he's just playing with everyone. I swear he's playing a character. He's playing an alter ego, and that alter ego just happens to be an NFL player.
He's teeing us up. Has to be.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
All right, Grub, that's it for another week of Hoops and Hits. What a show, mate. So much to talk about. NBA, the NFL, the Giants were heavy. What's going on in your NFC East? But another big show, mate.
Loved it. Great show. Plenty of hate from me today, and I'm okay with it. Rodgers. Actually, I forgot to mention one more thing. Rodgers in my fantasy team. I dropped him. I got him fully out. Yeah. He's toxic in my fantasy team.
Toxic. He's bringing the energy down. Not you, the people who we rely on to build this show. You are not toxic. You help us every week. Where can you get involved in the show, Grub?
Everywhere. Insta, X, wherever you want it. Find us everywhere. We're gaining momentum. Week 13, but we got 1,000 weeks to go. Stick with us.
See you next week.